I remember when the world was still round, when things still felt simple, the way you expect them to be. I remember the innocence of childhood, the feel of the grass on my toes, catching frogs in the creek, riding bikes until the sun went down. And even though life was never perfect, there was still a confidence that overall we lived in an era of progress, of discovery, of accomplishment. I remember when I still believed it was one nation under God, and when that flag wasn't simply a symbol hailing the march of the New World Order. I remember when it was still impossible for 2 planes to knock down 3 buildings, and for tiny fires to melt steel. I remember when the Constitution still meant something, when kids didn't get molested in airports by federal employees, before everyone just accepted the reality of total state surveillance. I remember when the skies weren't crisscrossed with ungodly poisons, when we weren't given toxic water to drink, or cancer-causing food to eat. I remember when kids could play outside until they got called in for dinner, when parents weren't forced to keep them indoors because of the unspoken awareness of a black market for their innocent flesh. I remember when the controlled media still at least attempted to make their lies believable, when they still somewhat respected the intelligence of the public enough to at least make an effort. I remember when we all cried as kids because we thought we saw that poor teacher lady blow up on her way to outer space. And I remember when I first learned that it was all a sick charade. I remember when the spell was finally broken, and when the illusion suddenly had no magic left. The American dream became a bit of a nightmare, and everything felt upside down and inside out, because it was. And I remember the staggering realization that there is in fact a right side up, in every possible sense. I remember when men were still men and women were still women, and little boys could be boys without being drugged into submission, and little girls could be princesses without being Disney whores, before elementary kids were watching porn on their iPhones. I remember when people still knew how to simply talk to each other, to have conversations with real eye contact, and go places and do things without having to validate it with selfies. I remember when Google wasn't a verb. I remember when artificial intelligence was an oxymoron. I remember when books still had value and being alone with your thoughts, and when everyone wasn't constantly clamoring to be heard, all the time, every day. I remember when I wasn't waking up each day wondering if that would be the day when everything came crashing down. If there would be the next false flag, the next move, the next phase of the agenda, whatever that may be. I remember when one of the most difficult things in life wasn't actually the task of trying to relearn what I should be remembering in the first place. Remembering that this world, in its present form, is passing away.